So we've got a cracking afternoon of MoD and NZDF updates. So I'm going to hand straight to Hema, who's live in Auckland, and Richard Harrison is going to join us live from Wellington, and together they're going to do a capability project update. And then as soon as they're done, we'll hand seamlessly over to Huntley, who is in the room, who will be picking up with the TSS update. Over to you, Hema.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. I'm going to go straight into it. I wish I had thought about how entertaining Sean's talk was going to be and put him later in the day so that I didn't have to follow him. So thank you very much. We'll get started. As Jenny's just introduced, Richard Harrison is in Wellington, so we will be seamlessly switching between Auckland and Wellington, and those of you online won't even notice, hopefully. So if we can go to and hopefully that works. Can I click through slides? No? Can someone click to the next slide? I'll just keep talking. Oh, yes, there. Right, next slide, please. Awesome. So here is a bit of a summary of 2020 at the Ministry of Defence. So as obviously it doesn't need any introduction, 2020 has been an incredible year, a very different year to any other years we've had before, and no different for us at the Ministry. It's in the last month, we've obviously had a new Minister of Defence. We've also, in the Ministry, had a number of staff changes. So you will see some new faces around in the last 6 months, and a lot of new faces in our project teams and key leadership positions as well in the last sort of 8 months or so. One of the ones that I do want to highlight here today is Renee, who is our new Senior Strategic Comms Advisor. So Renee started about a month ago, and some of you may be in touch with her or be hearing from her as she starts to engage with industry in terms of how to better tell the story of defence and industry. Some of the other things that have happened is obviously we've had several business cases that have been approved by Cabinet. We've also had a number of other events. So in September, the Ministry of Defence hosted a workshop with industry, in particular the New Zealand Defence Industry Association, Defence Industry Advisory Council members to look at what's next in the relationship with defence and industry, particularly in the next 5 years. Andrew Ford, in some of his comments earlier today, touched on some of the elements from a New Zealand Defence Industry Association perspective, and this is us from a defence and industry perspective. So we'll be coming back to you in the new year to talk a little bit about some of the outcomes from that workshop and what we're going to be doing together with you in the year to come. Some other things that have happened is obviously the Technical and Support Services Panel was established, and Huntley will be coming up shortly to tell you a little bit more about that. We've also got a new defence assessment that is being worked through our policy branch. When we have an opportunity in the new year, we will look to see if we can get MoD policy along to tell you a little bit more about that. Some of the other publications that you might be interested in is in October this year, we did have a new biodefence assessment that was published that's available on our website. We also did one on extreme fire, looking at the issues of extreme fire and climate change and New Zealand Defence Force's role in supporting fire and emergency. So those are all available on our website. So I'm now going to hand over to Richard in Wellington to give you a little bit of an overview of NZDF in 2020 for NZDF. Next.
Right. Afternoon, everyone. As mentioned earlier, I'm the Richard Harrison, External Relationship Manager for Capability Branch at NZDF. So I think, like everyone else, we've certainly been impacted, or NZDF has been impacted by COVID pretty badly. We've still got 1,200 of our staff out in the managed isolation facilities or protecting the ports, the maritime security, or also in all government permissions and in command and control roles around COVID. So it's still impacting. It's not the thing that's so that filters right down with the troops standing outside hotels in Auckland or Wellington or Rotorua or whatever. It goes right through the system. There's every unit sort of missing manpower, so it's something we're dealing with. But saying that, we're still business as usual, still carrying on. Hema will talk shortly about some of the defence-led projects, and we've certainly got NZDF subject matter experts on all of those projects. So we're supporting those. We have our own NZDF capability projects that are ticking along. No projects have been cancelled or anything like that, have been affected in that way, but timings have slipped and things like that. So the best way to deal with some of these projects is engage with us, and we can make sure you're in contact with the right people or find out about projects. Yeah, and there's a lot of other outputs. Things have changed. The engagement obviously has changed. We've engaged with a lot of other defence forces around the world. That's obviously gone virtual rather than face-to-face of late. It's good to see that NZDIA, they've done a great job of going virtual in this last 12 months. So, and we've come along on that journey too. And we've got to admit, there's a lot of myself and a lot of other defence staff have learnt along the way on those virtual engagements. I think the recent Ideas conference has run very well, and this is a continuation of that. So I think it's all good. Opportunities, there's been a few opportunities come out in the last, I think there's roughly about 24 capability related tenders have gone out in the last 12 months from NZDF, and then on top of that there's the Ministry of Defence ones, and it ranges from soldier systems to passenger pods for the back of vehicles to other systems that have come in that are probably slightly older, that beach preparation vehicles and mat laying vehicles for landing on islands and things. And then there's a number of rolling capability refreshes. A lot of our NZDF equipment now is managed or procured through a rolling capability. So a lot of those we're transferring to that. Next 12 months there's going to be a number of tenders go out that'll go for things from body armours to night vision equipment, to sights, to soldier systems, to aircraft ground support equipment. There's a whole range of tenders will come out through the GET system. So keep your eyes open for that, or ask us if there's any information you're after. I think that's really at the moment. Whereas bottom line is we're still working. We're working around the COVID issues, but NZDF is still rocking on and meeting our commitments and the government's requirements. So and I'll hand that back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Next slide, please. Next slide again, please. Awesome. So here are some of the highlights that have happened in the recent months. What you will see is quite a spectacular lineup of capability that's been delivered to the New Zealand Defence Force. And some of the ones to highlight are obviously Aotearoa. There's a number of people in the room that were there for the commissioning of Aotearoa earlier in the year, actually in late July, and would have remembered what a spectacular occasion that was. And if you had an opportunity for a tour, you would have seen what an incredible capability Aotearoa is going to be for the New Zealand Defence Force. Now, the other piece which I would like to also highlight is that Hema NZS Te is on its way home, is on her way home as well. And that's quite exciting for many of us as well. So there's a number of things here. And in the interest of time, I'm just going to skip to the next slide. Thanks. So what we've got here for the next few slides is a highlight from each of the domains and an overview on some of the projects. Given that we have got John Fenderup and Garen Golding, who are the leads for Maritime up shortly, to give you an overview of the Maritime domain, I'm going to skip to the next slide. Right, so the air domain, so we've got 4 projects in the air domain with with really not much at the moment that is necessarily of interest to industry in terms of opportunities per se. As you can see from what's on the slide in front of you, there's a number of activities that are underway for all of these projects, and there are significant pieces of work that are going on at the moment. The EMAC project in particular, there may be opportunities in the new year, which we will obviously come back to you in the new year to talk to you a little bit more about those. Next slide, please. Again, so the land domain, we've got Dolly from NEA ISR EW, who's going to be up next to talk about a RFX that is coming out to the market shortly. So I will leave it to her to talk about that. We've obviously had quite a number of developments and announcement with the protected mobility capability in the last few months, and a lot of industries had quite a lot of interest in that. What else was I going to say in this? With counter-explosive hazards as well, is, as you can see from that, is tranche 1. There's a lot of activities in that, and we're nearing an operational release of capability, which is really quite exciting for us for 2021. Next slide, please. So the information domain, I'm not going to elaborate on this, as you've had 2 ideas presentations around this. Obviously, we've also got Richard Byrne and Pete Franken potentially later on this afternoon to give you a bit of a reflections on what came out of the Ideas Conference. So there is a lot of work underway in the projects in this domain, given most of them are in the definition space. So again, in the new year, we will have more updates throughout the course of next year with the NZDIA on these projects and how they've progressed and opportunities for industry. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we did want to highlight is how to get in touch with us. So a lot of the questions we often get from industry is who are the right people to talk to within the ministry as well as NZDF. So the primary place for you to get in touch with us is obviously at the email addresses that you've got in front of you. We've also got an industry portal. So if you're not familiar with it, you can go to the MoD website and there is a link to the industry portal. So the industry portal is essentially a networking platform for companies to be able to engage with each other. It's got all of the latest information on all of our projects, any upcoming opportunities and the like. We've also got the MoD website that will have all of our projects and any possibilities and opportunities for industry on there. We also frequently, as does the NZDF, put notifications up on GETS. So if there is anything that's coming up, those are your primary resources and avenues to get the latest information. If all else fails, obviously, you're more than welcome to get in touch with any one of us to find out more about any of the projects or any queries or any further information you'll have, and we'll be able to get you in touch with the right people. So I know Richard was going to give a little bit of an overview. I don't want to go through the rest of the slides. Most of them are all of our contact details, all of the details on all of the projects that you might need. And the slide pack will be available to everyone that's attending and obviously through the DIA website. Richard, I will hand over to you now so you can give a bit of an introduction to the people in Capability Branch, particularly many of them that are new to you.
Yeah, thanks, Hema. Yeah, there's not a great deal of change in Capability Branch at the director level. We're happy to find that we're getting Digby back. Air Commodore Webb is coming back in the middle of January, so he's been away COVIDing for most of the year. Most of the directors remain the same. The one change is Captain Sean Stewart, who is the Director of Capability Portfolio and Planning, is moving on, and DJ Hunt is coming in to replace him, so at the end of the year. So the rest of the domain leads there. There's obviously typical NZDF rotation of people down in in some of the projects and that, so it's there's quite a list there, but we can refine that next year. We get into more detail of some of these projects and things in the new year. So I think that's where it sits now. But so as Hema mentioned, the best thing to do is come through that, come either direct to me or through that that link that's email address to if you have any inquiries. So I think, yeah, from just before I hand back to Heather, from me, thanks. It's been an interesting year for everyone, and particularly DIA. You've had a rebirth basically into the virtual environment. It's been driven by a couple of things: the plague and the scallywags out there. So you've done well, and we've enjoyed the journey too. And I can hopefully contribute going forward with this new approach. We'll get back to face-to-face meetings sooner the better. So yeah. So other than that, Merry Christmas to all of you, and we'll be in touch in the new year. Back to you, Hema.